So no feedback, no learning. That's the title of this video. Some years ago I was visiting with a friend of mine, an older teacher, a well-known teacher too, on the east coast of Florida. He said to me, you know, a long time ago, he said, I went to this 3-day huge fancy seminar. This is going back a long time. He said, I spent a relative fortune on it, and it was for coaches of all sorts of sports. He said, in reality, he said, I really didn't get much out of it, but I did get one thing. And then he sort of went on to say, but that one thing was so valuable, I've used it every day of my life. And I said, what was that, Bill? He said, I learned that with motor programming, no feedback, no learning is the cue, and I've learned it every day. I've used it every day in my teaching, I should say. So listen, let's say some things are obvious. Let's say a kid's learning to walk, they're this big, they stumble, they fall on their side. That's a lot of feedback. You fall on your ear, you'll know right away what the problem was. You don't need the parent to say, hey, guess what? Too much weight on that side. That's feedback, and they learn from it. Golf, not quite so obvious. It's a little less clear where the ball hit on the club face, what the patterns of the swing were, etc. So you have to get feedback, and accurate feedback, if you're going to make progress. Now, a lot of people come up with this pat excuse, if you like. I get it all the time when I give golf lessons. Hey, I just can't feel things in my swing. Well, that's not going to serve you well, and you can. Try this little demonstration. Try this. Put your hand behind your back and point your palm more down or up. You can't see that, but can you feel the difference? Well, of course you can. There's all sorts of things outside the field of your vision in a golf swing, but you can feel them just like this. People have proprioception. They have a sense of where their body is in space if they work at it. All right, let's try another little exercise. You're probably sitting down watching this video. Quiet your mind down, pick something out on your body. Could be your back end on the chair or your back of your shoulders resting against the chair, elbow on the armrest, whatever it is. Just put your attention there for a few seconds and notice what you feel, the pressure, exactly where on your arm or rear end or whatever the pressure is. Kind of interesting. Now that's been there the whole time you turned the video on, you just weren't aware of it. So you have to be able to do this if you're going to be an effective practicer. You have to take your mind and be able to put it in a specific area. Could be the feeling of where the golf club is in space, could be where your weight is. There's endless possibilities, but you have to be able to put it somewhere and be able to keep it there and notice what's happening if you're going to see improvement. Now, this requires a quiet mind. In other words, you can't be thinking of all kinds of other things and notice this too. A little bit more difficult in the speed of a golf shot with all that's going on to quiet your mind and notice something. And you cannot have all sorts of outside ideas and thoughts crowding you out. Now, frankly, swing thoughts can be one of them. If you're thinking too hard about what to do, you cannot at the same time notice accurately what you're actually doing. That's much more valuable, finding out and feeling what's happening rather than thinking about what you'd like to have happen. The other one that affects people so much, the moment they hit the golf ball, bam, they either get a solid hit or they get a big miss hit or some such result. There's so much emotional attachment to that noticing of the outcome, it bleaches out the sense of where the swing is. So you have to be able to keep your mind quiet and put your attention in a specific area if you're going to see progress. Well, there's me in a recent practice session at the Learning Center, and you'll notice on the left-hand picture I've got more weight on my back foot and not so on the right-hand picture once I corrected it. It's a subtle difference. That's why I needed the feedback. Now, does a video camera make you a better golfer? Of course it doesn't. Does an MRI machine improve your knee in and of itself? Absolutely not, but we still use it. It allows you to chart a much clearer path to progress and to a solution. All right, here's a really true statement. This would apply whether you're in business or a lot of different things. Certainly applies in golf and motor programs, and that is never accept subjective feedback when concrete is available. Now, what might be subjective feedback? How good a shot did I hit? Listen, that could happen at random. You might make a bad swing and accidentally hit a good shot. What would be more concrete? Say a video camera, easily available today on pretty much every phone. That's concrete feedback. Launch monitors are great. They're expensive, but if a good coach has one, they're great. It'll tell you exactly how the club's moving and at what speed, how the ball's spinning off the club face, etc. through impact. Concrete feedback, let's say a video camera, is great because it tells you where you really are and it helps you feel things more accurately. Once you've seen it and you get back to it, you have a much better sense of where you are. Now, a lot of people might say to me or have said to me, hey, I don't want to use video, I don't like it, it sort of messes me up. Well, that's just a cop-out. Don't think that way. Now listen, here's the bad use of video, and both player and coach can be guilty of this. If it gets you self-conscious, if it gets you thinking of a lot of different things, that can mess you up a little bit. If the coach is apt to jump course and you're working on something and they say, oh, notice this isn't good, let's jump to that, that can busy you. But if it's used properly, a specific area, concrete, clear feedback, it is magical. You should use it. Golfers rarely have a clear picture of how they actually swing the club. This guy I was teaching had no idea he was coming down that vertically on top of the golf ball. Really helped him to see it. How about this guy? Strong guy, good golf swing, hit the ball pretty well, but it was a real revelation and a surprise to him how much he scooped the club and how much it slipped past his hands as he was hitting the ball. And not only that, coaches don't have perfect eyes. Being able to see these things slowed down really, really helps. And when the student and the teacher are seeing the same image, communication is much more clear. All right, now what really makes someone be able to play a good game of golf is just the genius, the talent of the human mind, to be able to move a club at that speed, find the middle of the club face, square it up, etc. But I'm telling you, the better the pattern, the simpler, more sound and efficient, the less compensations and complexities and things in there, the more likely, whatever talent you bring to the process, the more likely you are to have consistently reasonably good results. It just works that way. So, you know what happens? People go to the driving range, they start wailing away at golf balls. Bad swings can hit good shots too, and what happens is they get so many reps, they get going, they get warmed up one ball after the other, they start to hit more solid shots. Most of the time their contact improves. Often they falsely assume I've found something as I'm hitting the ball so solidly, I've really made a breakthrough. Then they get to the golf course, guess what? They didn't make a breakthrough. They never really addressed their pattern, they didn't change a key variable, etc. All that happened was they got warmed up and started hitting the ball solidly. So patterns are the things you have to change, and you have to get feedback to improve your patterns. Now, one more word about coaching. If you notice in your golf lessons, hey, every time I hit a solid shot and it rips off the club face, yeah, well done, I get applause and I get a salvo of good wishes. But every time I mishit it, some reason is offered as to why I mishit it. Run. Don't get coaching from that person. That is not how life works. You can hit good and bad shots with any swing. You want a coach who is consistently giving you feedback again on a critical area, willy-nilly of shot, for the most part. Sometimes shots have to be diagnosed a little bit. Ask yourself this as well. Golf is known to be the only sport with the same amount of teachers as players. It's kind of true. People coach each other. Pretty much everyone that plays golf gives some golf lessons to their friends. You'll see the same pattern out there. Have you ever played 4 really good holes and the friend sneaks up to you and says, I know you're playing well, but I've noticed your club's getting a little bit over here. This is where your problem is. You'll never hear that. You'll never hear critiques when you're playing well, but you'll immediately and often hear some kind of solution offered when you mishit a few balls. So that's bad coaching. Stay away from it, and don't do it to yourself either. Don't be the kind of player that every time he hits a solid one falsely assumes they made a good swing. Pay attention to what's really happening. All right, a brief summary. Get feedback. Without feedback, you're not going to make much progress. Use technology. It can be great for you. Get a trusted coach, not just one that cheerleads good shots and then critiques bad shots. Get one that gives you honest, sincere, consistent feedback. And as a friend of mine said, a great mentor of mine, Fred Shoemaker out in California, he said, at the end of a practice session, if you have gained awareness in a critical variable, you have made concrete improvement. Make that your goal, not just hitting some solid shots.